So we're going to go rock, paper, scissors. Now, it's going to be broke down into 4 key things that we need to have. We need to have a shake element. We have to have some element of random selection for the opponent's hand, otherwise it's definitely not much of a game. If then else logic to decide a winner. So if we're thinking about this in the structure of a day or a week of a lesson, if you've covered your if then else logic already, you've already done the biggest part of this. We've got a variable to store the value of the hand. Now, we did touch on variables a little bit in the last session as well, but we'll give a quick crash course just in case we're a little familiarised when we get into the actual MakeCode editor itself. Shake, once again, is how we interact with the microbit. However, that can be changed for any of the other inputs as well, which we'll show in just a second. So I'm going to try and get this set up on my screen so that it shows what we're going to see. And Connor is going to very helpfully instruct me of what blocks I need and how we're going to sort of bring it together like a jigsaw. Now, this is where I'm going to need my amazing technical staff in the background here to be helpful. So there should be a link for the Microbit Classroom, because there's actually a couple of people in today. So this link that we're going to pop into the Google chat would actually allow you to code along live. When you click onto that, you'll be limited to the blocks that you need to make this specific program there. And you see here, that's a little picture of it. We're going to talk for it in a second anyway, but it's not a lot. Okay, we've got from on shake down to here with absolutely no drawing required. I'm going to show you the icons in a second as well. So if you want to sort of work along with me, that's absolutely great. You click on that link, it should let you into the classroom, and I can also see how everyone's getting on as well. So if we do get stuck or any issues, please just raise a hand or give us a little ping and we'll let you know. So.
Yeah, I can see you now, Ryan. That's you. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Woohoo.
Lovely. So, Connor, if you would be so kind to let me know what sort of blocks that I'm going to need to build this rock, paper, scissors, and then I can try my best to put it together like the world's most interesting jigsaw.
Yeah, so to try and build this, just going through those blocks that you'd already discussed, so we're going to need the one that's the on shake. So we're going to need that in there, and that's going to allow us to detect when the pupil or the young person is actually going to be using and shaking the microbit. So we'll need that one in there first of all.
Perfect. So also I'm going to be giving the microbit some sort of information, so I'm looking for something around that. So input sounds like a good start to me, and I can see that there straight away on shake. So I'll ditch that in my playing field here.
Yeah, so everything that we are going to be doing for this game is going to need to go in between that sort of pink or purple block there that we've got. So your next one that you're probably going to have is we're going to need to look for our random numbers. So we're going to need to look for a set 2 block somewhere.
Okay, so I suppose if I'm looking to set something, I would probably have to make it first, would I?
Yep.
Yep, so I'll probably just make a variable and I'll just call this one hand for talking's sake, but this could be anything for purpose of what we're using, but hand makes sense to me for rock, paper, scissors. So I'll drag that out and I'll just put that in my on shake there. So now when I shake my microbit, I should be setting my hand variable to nothing, which is a good place to start, but not quite where I want to be yet.
Yeah, so we're then wanting to try and introduce that random aspect so that every time that we are shaking the microbit, it's always going to generate a random number. So we're looking for a random number between 1 and 3 to replace that 0 that we've got there in that block.
Perfect. So random numbers to me, maths, nice big bastard here, my favourite subject in school, not. So if I can bring this down here, I can see I pick random between 0 and 10. Now, super easy to change. You can see here that I've got it's an oval. It's going to click into here. It's not going to let me put it anywhere else. I'm going to drop it in here. I don't need to be super accurate with it. Anywhere in the rough area is going to get me there. And then as Connor said, I can change that between 1 and 3. I think I have my 3 possible choices.
Yeah, and then after that, we're going to need to try and sort out what we want to do when each of those numbers are chosen. So if it's a 1 or a 2 or if it's a 3. So we're going to need our if and else block that we discussed at the start of this workshop from our unplugged activity.
Perfect. So we were talking about how to build computational logic into everyday thinking. So once again, I've got my keyword of logic, grab that there, and I've got an if and an else. That looks like words that I've seen so far. So I'll drag it out and ditch it just underneath my set hand. Now, at the moment, it still says if and else, and I don't have that alternative option. Super easy to add. By pressing that plus arrow down, plus option down here, it's going to add another one on there for me. I can keep going as much as I like. For this option, though, I think I'll just keep it for the 3, for rock, paper, or scissors.
Yeah, so you're going to need those equal signs now so that we can try and compare the values that we've got. So we're looking to compare our variable, which is going to be hand, and that's going to store the value 1, 2, or 3. So we need to try for our conditions beside the if and the else if, we want to try and have an equal sign in there, and you're looking for your hand variable to be compared against 1 or 2. And I think, did we say was 1 going to be rock and 2 was going to be paper?
Yep, you can go with that. So you can see here once, guys, I've got our little shape here that labs up quite nicely. I can just drag that in, so I'm not going to get it wrong. So right now I've got 0 equals 0, but as Connor said, we set that hand variable at the beginning. So I can just go back to my variable now, simply just drag hand here and hand here. So right now it's equals 0 and 0, but if we're going to say that we're going to have rock and paper in here. So I've got the logic set up. It's going to generate my random numbers. The last step now is really just getting those icons displayed, isn't it, Connor?
Yeah, so the only thing that we're doing now is we're looking for the show icon block, and then that gives us the opportunity to try and draw using the LEDs how we could come up with our different options. So we need to try and draw a rock, we need to try and draw paper, and we'll also need to try and draw scissors as well.
Perfect. Now, if you're anything like me, you might not be, but the minute Connor started talking about drawing, the panic for me started to go. So the good news is I'm a computing teacher, not an art teacher, and that would become very, very obvious even on a short grid to try to show you. Now, the good microbit's got a lot of different icons built into it, which I'm going to make use of tonight. However, if you've got a slightly more creative class or you're a bit braver than me, then you would just bring the show LEDs in and you can simply just start to plot that out yourself. Now, some of the things that kids can do are mind-boggling at times when it comes to pixel art, so it's lovely to see that option as well. But for that element differentiation, you can get 2 birds with 1 stone. Pupils can draw it or show the icons, kind of give exactly the same goal. So I'm just going to drop in some icon blocks just here. Now, they're all love hearts to begin with, but these can be easily changed. Now, if I was to change that first one, I think we agreed the first one would be rock. So down at the very bottom, we've got what I would make out to be a small rock in the center. We've then got our paper. So right now, if the hand equals 1, it's going to be a rock. If the hand equals 2, it's going to be paper. And if it isn't 1 or 2, it can only be 3. Once again, reinforcing that logic. At that point, we've got some very well drawn scissors. So at this point in time, we can get this downloaded onto their microbit. They can start trying that, going back and forth. But just to make sure it actually works, we've got access to the Nandy simulator just here. Now they can either shake the microbit just like that or click the shake button. It's going to generate that random number. Now, once again, you're enforcing that idea random. The probability, it's another element in school. It might be the same icon twice in a row. It might never be, but that's the act of it. As I'm pressing shake, I can be playing rock, paper, scissors against my classmates or against myself, and you're able to build up that score. So once again, if you've got a pupil who's going to be a little bit less engaged and is not wanting to interact with his peers all that much, very, very easily can sit and play rock, paper, scissors with themselves against essentially against the computer. Alternatively, you can have 2 pupils play against each other, both with their microbits in their hand, just replacing their physical hand or the digital one that they've made. So that's it. Okay, so we've got a couple lines of code there to get the basis, a really solid game. Now, there's lots of different ways that you could possibly take that, more of which we're going to talk about in just a second. But in terms of the actual microbits itself, that's really as complicated as this particular game gets. In the space of maybe 5-10 minutes or so, the pupils can be in the classroom, either playing against themselves or against their peers as well, bringing that sort of friendly competition into it, like we said at the beginning.